For this demo, I'm going to show you how to take a regular set-in sleeve and add a crescent to the top of it. As you can see here, it kind of pushes the shoulder out, gives you a little boxier look to your sleeve. It's an interesting design. So here we have our basic sleeve sloper. It's shortened down to the elbow. And the first thing we're going to do here is measure from the kappa sleeve down the center line about 1.5 inches and mark it. And this is going to establish the center of our crescent. Now, on the back and front of the sleeve, we want to measure about 4 inches out on each side. And these will be the points of our crescent. Now that I have those 3 points, I want to draw myself in a guideline. I'm just going to connect all 3 of them. And then take my curve ruler and true that line. Now that I have the shape of my crescent, I'm going to take another piece of paper, just a small piece, and I'm going to slide it right underneath the cap of my sleeve where I drew that crescent in. With my tracing wheel, I'm going to trace off the kappa sleeve and the crescent. I also want to add in directional notches, 1 in the front, 2 in the back. That way I can match this crescent piece up back with my sleeve easily and know which side is which side. And add in my grain line. Use the tracing wheel to transfer those to the piece of paper underneath. Once that's done, I can remove that piece of paper and I have my crescent traced off on it. Now I'm going to use my curve ruler again and true up that crescent piece I traced off. Don't forget to add in your center line and notches. Once it's been trued up, go ahead and cut it out. Now go ahead and grab another piece of paper, and then towards the top of that we want to draw a straight line, and this is going to be our balance line. That crescent we just cut out is actually going to become our working pattern. We're now going to slash into this crescent piece from the bottom of it to the top and spread it out along this line that we drew. So start by cutting from the bottom in the center to the top, but not through it. And then we'll just take some tape it in place, and just continue slashing wherever it needs it so we can get it nice and flat against that balance line that we drew. Now that that's slashed and spread flat against that line, let's go ahead and add back in our center line. We should be able to see at the top and just square it down from that line that we drew. And then trace around this curved edge that we have now from slashing it. Be sure to transfer all your notches. This is my shoulder notch. And then the front notches that we added on, and the back 2 notches as well, directional notches. Once that's done, we can take off the working pattern. We're all done with that, and get rid of it. Now take your curve ruler again and true up that line. And go ahead and add seam allowance to it. We'll just do 1/2 inch seam allowance around the whole thing and cut it out. So remember that this curved edge is what's going to be sewing back on to the sleeve, and that this flat edge is your cap of your sleeve. And here we're going to press under or fold under our seam allowance and just clip off these little triangles we get. These are what we call fold unders or fold outs. And this will make it easier to line up our pattern piece when we're sewing it. Okay, so now we're going to take the measurements of these two sides and then just write the measurement right on your pattern piece. And this will come into use a little later. So, front measurement. Okay, once we have those measurements, we can lay that aside. And we need to take the measurements of the sleeve now as well. I'm going to write on the front and back measurements for my crescent piece onto my sleeve just so I can remember what they are here as well. Now, let's go ahead and just cut out this piece. Remember, we don't need this cap anymore. That's where our crescent's going to be, so we're just kind of cut across that design line we made. This has now become our working pattern. So let's take another piece of paper and lay it on top of that. And if you look, this crescent piece is now longer. The curved edge is now longer than where we cut it away from at the kappa sleeve. So we now need to open up that sleeve so that it is the same length as our crescent. If you look, we just walk it out, you can see how much longer it is from each side, from the front and the back. So I'm going to take the measurement here in the front, write that on my pattern, and also the measurement of the back, write that on my pattern. Once you have your measurements, go ahead and take your ruler and draw a center line on the piece of paper. And this line will match up with the center line of my working pattern. Now let's slash down right through the center from the cap down to the bottom. And that way I can just slash this or spread this open. And what I'm going to do here is take my two front measurements, subtract them, and then once I find the difference, that's what I'll be adding to my sleeve so that it will measure the same as the cap. So I'm just going to mark the bottom where the sleeve is and the top where the sleeve. And I'm just going to square a line off of that top mark I gave myself. Alright. And then find the front measurement. That's the difference between the two front measurements right there. And see the back measurement. Find the difference and mark that on that line. It's right there. And just make sure you have a clear mark where to line the top of the sleeve up to. Alright, so now line up the bottom of the sleeve, that mark you gave yourself earlier. Make sure the top is matching right with the top. I'm just going to put a little piece of tape there at the bottom to hold it in place. Alright, and I'm just going to spread it open to my mark that I gave myself. And just a little piece of tape to hold it in place. And then the same in the back. And then I'm just going to walk out this crescent piece real quick, make sure it matches up. Works out good, perfect. And now go ahead and trace off your working pattern. Once that's traced off, go ahead and take off the working pattern and take your ruler and true all those lines. All right, don't forget to add in your notches, bicep line. And if we look and take the crescent piece again, we can add in our notches from our crescent piece to our working pattern, or to our new pattern. Transfer those back, front. I like to keep those notches pretty close to the corners where they're going to be sewing. It makes it easier to line up. You know, there's no ease in there. You can just line those notches right up and everything will blend right in, no problem, at those corners right there. It makes sewing much easier. And if there's a little bit of ease, it'll just be in the center and that will ease right in without a problem. All right, go ahead and add 1/2 inch seam allowance around your whole sleeve. Once that's done, go ahead and cut it out. All right. There you have it. You have your sleeve and your crescent. And you can see it just walks, he just sews that curved edge, just sews right onto the top of the sleeve, and the edges will blend right in. So if you have any questions or pattern demos you'd like to see, please leave a comment in the section below. Thank you for watching.